A Course in Miracles Workbook, Lesson 71. Only God's plan for salvation will work.
Lesson 71 is teaching you that only God's way of helping you feel safe and happy truly works. Your own plans, based on fear or worry, may not bring real peace. When you trust God's loving plan, your heart feels calm, and you remember that you are always cared for.
You may not know it, but the ego has its own plan for salvation, opposite to God's. This is the plan you have believed in.
We do not realize that our special relationships mean choosing against God. Jesus asks if we would still want them if we knew they were a way to reject Him. He wants us to see that our plan to avoid pain goes against God's plan. Understanding this helps us see the truth and make the right choice.
Because the ego's plan is the opposite of God's, you may think that choosing God's plan means losing everything.
We believe that if we accept God's plan and forgive, we will lose ourselves and disappear forever. The ego sees things backwards. Good is bad and bad is good. It tells us to avoid forgiveness and hold on to guilt.
This may sound silly, but once you understand the ego's plan, you might see that you actually believe it.
Jesus reminds us that even though the ego's ideas seem crazy, we still believe them. We think we do not follow them, but we do. He knows this because we believe we are here. This means we see projection as salvation, keeping us from remembering God's love.
The ego's plan for salvation centers around holding grievances.
This is a simple and clear statement that shows how the ego uses projection. It also explains what specialness really means.
The ego makes you believe that if someone acts differently or something outside changed, you would be saved. This means you see salvation as outside of you. Every time you hold a grievance, you are saying, if this were different, I would be saved. But real salvation comes from changing your own mind, not others.
Everyone in the world follows this way of thinking because it is what made the world. The world was made to keep the idea of separation, but blame others for it. The ego's plan is to keep us feeling innocent by making others guilty. We believe our pain proves someone else is to blame, and they should suffer instead of us. But this is just part of the ego's false plan for salvation, which we must learn to see differently.
The ego's plan makes you believe that something outside of you needs to change to save you. But this is a mistake, because those things can never bring true salvation.
Jesus says the ego's rule is, look, but never find. That is what everyone does. It means we keep searching but never really find the truth. The ego makes sure our minds stay stuck and never change.
This keeps us searching without ever finding. We think that even though our hopes have failed before, maybe we will find what we want somewhere else. Maybe another person or a new situation will finally make us happy.
Deep down, we do not want to fully follow this course. Instead, we change its meaning so it does not really help us. This is the ego's way of keeping us stuck.
This is the ego's plan to save you, but you can see how it follows the ego's rules. Look, but never find. The best way to keep you from finding real peace is to make you search for it in the wrong places.
The ego does not want us to know we have a mind because then we could choose differently and let it go. So it keeps us looking for happiness in the wrong places. Jesus helps us see that we use the world to distract ourselves, thinking peace is out there somewhere. The ego makes sure we keep searching but never finding.
God's plan works because He guides us to look for peace in the right place. But to find it, You have to look only where He leads us, not anywhere else.
Here's the problem. People say they want to follow God and forgive, but they also want to keep their specialness. They want to do the lessons, but still focus on the body instead of the mind, where real salvation is. But salvation cannot be mixed with anything else. You cannot love a little and attack a little. It does not work that way. This course is simple because it does not compromise. But that is exactly what the ego fights against.
If you try to follow two different paths, you'll feel lost and confused. One leads to peace, the other does not. Trying both will only make you frustrated and unhappy.
The world we see comes from our own thoughts. Jesus has been teaching us that the real problem is inside our minds, not in our bodies or brains. Jesus explains that we cannot follow two opposite paths at the same time. If we try to learn from both God and the ego, we will only be confused. In the end, we must choose heaven or suffering, God or the ego, real happiness or more searching.
How do you escape all this? It is simple. Today's idea gives the answer. Only God's plan for salvation works. There is no other plan that can truly save you. God's plan is the only one that will always succeed.
The choice is easy. Only one plan can end pain and suffering. But this only makes sense if we understand that the real problem is in our mind. That is why the workbook keeps teaching us that salvation comes from changing our thoughts.
Today, let us practice knowing this is true. Let us be happy that there is an answer, even when things seem impossible. With God, all things are possible. His plan will never fail, so salvation is ours.
The happiness of making the right choice is what encourages us to choose it. Ending conflict means ending pain and suffering and finding real joy. Jesus always reminds us that choosing God's way brings true happiness.
Start your 2 longer practice periods today by thinking about this idea. It has 2 important parts. God's plan for your salvation will work, and no other plan will. Both are equally true.
The hard part is not just saying yes to God's plan, but also saying no to the ego's. Salvation makes no compromises. Saying yes to truth means rejecting the ego's lies. That is why we resist Jesus' teachings. The course is clear. Only truth is true, and the ego is an illusion.
Do not feel sad or upset about the second part. It is part of the first. The first part is what sets you free from all the wrong ways you have tried to save yourself. Those ways only brought sadness and frustration. But God's plan will work. It will bring you freedom and joy.
We feel angry or sad because we still want our way. Instead of asking Jesus for help, we escape through people or things. This is how addictions start, hiding pain instead of healing the mind. The ego's plan never works and only keeps the pain going.
Remember this as you spend the rest of your practice time asking God to show you His plan. Ask Him, what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say? And to whom?
Jesus teaches that asking God with words does not really change anything because words are just symbols. At first, they help us focus, but true prayer is beyond words. We often ask God for specific things because we feel afraid or lacking. But real prayer is about letting go of what we think we need and trusting God completely.
Give God control of the rest of your practice time. Let Him show you what you need to do in His plan for your salvation. The more you are willing to listen, the more clearly He will guide you.
This is an important idea. God's voice is always with us, but we do not always hear it because we close ourselves off. It is our willingness to listen that allows us to experience His love.
Do not ignore His voice. The fact that you are practicing shows you want to listen. That is enough for God to answer you.
Jesus reminds us that this is a journey. The fact that we are here, practicing and learning, means part of us wants God's way. Our small willingness is enough to lead us to happiness. But we will move faster when we see our resistance and ask Jesus to help us let go of our fear.
During the day, remind yourself often that only God's plan for salvation will work. When you feel upset or tempted to hold a grudge, say, holding a grudge is not God's plan. Only His plan works. Try to remember this every 10 minutes or so. Taking just a few seconds to do this helps you stay focused on the truth.
Jesus reminds us to stay aware of our choice between love and separation. He asks us to compare God's plan with the ego's, forgiveness or holding grudges. By doing this often, we remember what we truly want and see that blame only keeps us from returning to God's love.
Only God's plan for salvation will work. Only God's plan for salvation will work. Only God's plan for salvation will work.